In today's video, I'm making my own version of the Cheshire Cat. I'll start off by referencing my character design to make sure my proportions are right, then I'll make the armature base out of aluminum wire and Sculpey ultralight for the body. Once the armature is baked and cooled, I'll run some Sculpey medium firm clay through my pasta maker and start pressing it on. This part is just about getting the basic body shape and tail done, then I'll focus on the legs and paws. Now I'll brush some Sculpey Bacon Bond onto the wire so the clay will stick better. To make his legs, I'll just roll out some clay into a cylinder, cut a slit down one side, press it onto the wire, and blend in the seam. Sorry, I lost footage of the cutting part, but hopefully you get the idea. Time to work on his head. I'll bulk out an armature with a ball of aluminum foil, add on more ultralight, and just make sure it's the right proportion. I'll add some eye sockets using a metal ball stylus, then pop it in the oven to bake. With the baking done, I'll start adding clay and shaping out his head. To give you a little background, Cheshire Cat is part of a series of characters I created called Madly Wonderland, which are my own whimsical version of the classic Wonderland book characters. They're a limited edition series of resin pieces that are hand-painted by yours truly and come with a numbered and signed certificate. The Mad Hatter with Sleepy Dormouse and Topsy Turvy Alice are the other two characters in the set. What I love about this series is that each character has a little hidden surprise. If you'd like to check them out, I'll leave a link in the description. Now I'll start detailing his mouth, nose, and ears. Cheshire's design is curvy, but it also has some crisp, flat areas. So when I'm detailing, I usually start with a hard rubber modeling tool to get the shape right, then to smooth everything out or make a flat edge, I'll switch to a softer silicone tool. Okay, time for eyes. I'll cut a sphere in half and position each one. After getting the general shape of the eyes done, I'll start bulking out his furry cheeks. To make room for his teeth, I'm cutting away some of the excess clay, which will also define the mouth shape better. Now I'll start refining the other cheek and his mouth. Next, I'll start detailing his eyes, starting with the eyelids. These are part of the crisp linear design I was talking about, so they're not the typical curved shape. These will have flat edges to them. He's looking good. We've saved the best for last, the Cheshire Cat's infamous toothy grin. I'll make a center line, then bump out that bottom lip a bit. I'm using my soft flat chisel tool to define each tooth. Once all the main teeth are in, I'll add his top fangs. I want my Cheshire to look mischievous and mysterious, so I'm making his fangs pointy, but they still have some curves to indicate he's not like an evil cat. Just a little tip on silicone tools. From what I found, they come in either medium hard or soft pressure. I definitely recommend having both in your toolbox, but it's super important to know what they're best used for. The medium-hard tools like the one I'm using here are super versatile and work pretty well on firmer clay as well as soft clay. They're not as flimsy as the soft silicone, but the soft silicone is perfect for soft clay. It smooths it out so much better than the harder tools, which are just too tough and they won't do what you want. Likewise, the soft silicone tools are basically useless on cold or firm clay. His original eyes were looking a little flat, so I bumped them out a bit more and just blended them back into the eyelids. To remove fingerprints before baking, I'll brush baby oil all over the head and do some final smoothing out. For the final touch, I put a little bacon bond on the end of some floral wire and poked it into the clay to make his whiskers. Now I'll start bulking out his body a bit more, starting with the shoulders. Next, I started working on the legs and paws. Unfortunately, I ended up having to remove the paws completely because the wire just kept popping out and I was losing my mind. For now, we'll skip ahead to his back legs. I wanted my Cheshire to have a little pooch for some added cuteness, so I just made a little teardrop shape and blended that in. He's getting close. I just need to finish his legs, tail, and attach his head. I swear some of these voiceover lines make me sound like a psycho killer. I want to stick with this graphic look and give his tail an outer layer of fur with some pointy edges. I've also added some pointy fluff to his chest. So how I fixed the paw situation was I covered his legs with enough clay so the wire would be covered, baked his body, and then built up his paws and the rest of his legs on top of the baked clay. And that worked really well. Another set of tools I highly recommend are dental tools. They're so perfect for modeling and relatively cheap online. Okay, this is a little deceiving. His head is not actually attached here, but I guess I just had it on to make him look a little more complete while I worked. I really don't remember. Now we'll attach his head and get him ready for his final bake before we get to the next fun part, of course, painting. Here he is, baked, cooled down, and ready for paint. I'm going to start by mixing Folk Art Perfect Purple with a drop of Liquitex's Slow Dry Fluid. This will help prevent brush strokes and make the paint flow a little better. For Cheshire Cat's hidden surprise, I'm going to give him glow-in-the-dark eyes and teeth. So at first I mixed some white paint with glow-in-the-dark paint, but I didn't like how grainy it looked in the dark. So later on in the video, I'll add some blue glow-in-the-dark powder to condense it more. This did work much better, but apparently graininess is just inherent to glow-in-the-dark materials, so you never really get rid of it completely. Next, his teeth will get a wash of dark purple to make the cracks between the teeth stand out. I'll dab any excess paint off with a paper towel and a pointy Q-tip dipped in alcohol. Now I'll paint his teeth with my mix of white and glow-in-the-dark paint. For his chest and belly, I'm just mixing a little white paint with the perfect purple to get a lighter purple color. Cheshire's color palette is pretty simple and just consists of light, medium, and dark purple, a light, medium, and dark blue, with accent colors of orange and yellow for his irises. For all you color theory nerds like myself out there, you know this as a split complementary palette. which I think I tend to gravitate towards with my character designs. I'll paint dark purple on the end of his tail and in his inner ears. This darker base will work well as I'll be adding color-shifting mica powders to these areas that will hopefully add a little magic. I applied 2 layers of each color paint, and though you really are supposed to let each layer dry completely, I ain't got time for that, so I used a heat gun to help it along. Heat guns generally work fine, but I've since switched to a travel hairdryer because I've heard heat guns can actually crack acrylic paint if you're not careful. The eyes are so important to get looking correct, so I used a pencil to just mark out where the pupil and irises would go before I painted them. Now on to his stripes. I also sketched these onto the clay before painting to avoid running into trouble later. I'll just alternate perfect purple and true blue for the stripes and mix a dark blue for his paws. When you're mixing a shadow color, try adding in the base's complementary color or a blue color for a richer hue instead of using black or gray, which can desaturate the color. Here I decided to repaint the tail end and paws from dark purple to dark blue. Because the stripes above the paw and the tail were already purple, I thought the blue would contrast better. Okay, so here's one of the most fun parts. I'm using Pearl X powders, which are mica powders, to add some metallic shimmer to his paws, tail, and inner ears. This part was tricky because mica powders look their best when they're applied onto specific materials like raw clay, then baked. And it looks great on dry acrylic paint, but it won't stay. It will come off as soon as you touch it. So you have to brush on a varnish to seal it in. If you're using a glossy varnish, that would probably work fine, but I didn't want those areas to be glossy. So I had to use a matte varnish, and unfortunately that made the brilliant shimmer go away. But it still gave it a bit of a metallic look, so I went with it. Really the best thing to do would have been to use Folk Art Dragonfly color shifting acrylic paint. That would have made the color shifting shimmer pop a lot better. But it's okay, live and learn. Now we come back to his eyes. I wanted his irises to have a gradient ombre effect, so I took orange and yellow and mixed them to make an in-between color, then I just blended them together carefully. I started out using a very small ball stylus tool to make the pupils, and it does help when you don't want rogue hairs from a brush to accidentally paint where you don't want it to go, but I find I have to keep dipping the metal into paint a lot more than I would a brush, so I eventually switched to a fine brush to finish the pupils. Alright, we've made it to the final steps. To finish off his eyes, I added some Deco Art triple thick brush-on glaze. I think it was after I did this that I realized that the one coat of glow paint just wasn't very bright in the dark, so I mixed this blue glow powder with my glow-in-the-dark paint and applied that to his eyes and teeth. For the last step, I mixed a little more mica powder with my matte varnish and painted his paws, the tip of his tail, his inner ears, and his purple stripes. And without further ado, here come the glamour shots. I hope you enjoyed watching the process of the Cheshire Cat coming to life. He was such a fun design to sculpt and paint, and I'm so happy with how he turned out, especially his glowing eyes and teeth. If you like this video and want to see more, please like and subscribe. There may be a couple exceptions, but I promise most future videos will have better camera angles now that I have a better setup. So hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks and happy sculpting!